Welcome back to The Secret Truth. I'm George Butler along with my co-host,
Charlotte Littlefield, and welcome back, Dr. Ann Blake Tracy, author of the book Prozac, Panacea, or Pandora.
And
Ladies
Dr. Tracy, Peter R. Bregan wrote your introduction. Is that correct?
Yeah, he did.
And that's quite a compliment, and that's saying a lot for you and your work in this area over the years, Dr. Tracy.
Well, thank you.
Now, how about recovery? What were you going to say, Charlotte?
Oh, the International Coalition for Drug Awareness is drugawareness.org. I'd like to encourage everybody in the listening audience to go and sign up for the free newsletter, and let's get the information out, and the books, the videos, the audio. Dr. Tracy, do you feel like the alternative media is having an impact in this area?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you're not going to get this from the mainstream media because they make too much money on these drugs. I mean, about 2 years ago, the rate was around $200 million a day that comes in on antidepressants alone.
Oh, my God.
Advertising dollars?
And now they're advertising on television with some of these drugs.
Yeah, that's why they advertise on television, is they're making that much money every day.
Right.
They're bringing in $200 million a day on them. So.
Right. To recovery, you pioneered in certain techniques in recovery and certain types of drugs and so forth. Tell our listening audience a little bit about how to recover people that have been on some of these psychotropic, very dangerous psychiatric drugs.
It's not really easy to do. You have to, first of all, go very, very, very slowly down off of the drugs. You know, in the beginning, everybody wanted to just quit because they felt so terrible. But when they would try to quit quickly or abruptly, they would go psychotic. And now we've got the warning from the FDA that any abrupt change in dose of an antidepressant, whether you're going up or down, can cause suicide, hostility, or psychosis. So that's why you have to be extremely careful changing the dose at all. You want to just shave the pill, and that's if you're going up or if you're going down.
Right. Does nutrition and vitamins play a part, also a role in weaning very, very slowly the patients off these drugs?
Huge part, because these drugs are stimulants. If it's an antidepressant, the opposite of a depressant, of course, it's the stimulant. And it's kind of like if you're driving your car down the road and you run out of gas. What's the logical thing to do? You get a gas can, go get gas, fill up the tank, and keep going. You don't pull a sledgehammer out of the trunk and start beating the bumper to get where you're trying to go. And that's what you do, basically, when you reach for a stimulant. You're out of gas, you need to rebuild, and instead you're just forcing the body beyond what capabilities it has. So when you do that for several years, of course, you're going to have to fill that tank again. And basically that's what you're doing when you're rebuilding your nutritional level. So you've got to really work to build back up, and you've got to work to repair the damage that's been done by the drugs as well, especially with the blood sugar. And that's one of the worst things that you have after the drugs, which is why you can't sleep after you've been on them.
Are there rehabilitation centers where people can get medical attention and medical care as they down dose and transition?
Don't I wish. I have been hoping and praying for that for years. No, there isn't. There needs to be. There desperately needs to be.
So there's a lot of silent suffering happening. This is devastating our country, our families, our communities, and a lot of people don't make that connection.
No, I know they don't. They rarely make that connection. I mean, I could run through so many different scenarios, case after case after case. In fact, if you search out drugawareness.org, you can find on our site, when you get to there, search out SSRI stories, and there'll be a link. And that's our database of cases. And there's 4,000 cases up there right now, and that's just my Texas director there in Dallas, and I, for years, have searched out these cases in the media, where the media documents what they were on. And that's what our database is. In fact, there was a study done on it last year saying that this is probably the most valid data that we have, that these drugs are producing murder and suicide in this country at an alarming rate. And I rarely see a school shooting that does not involve one of these drugs. We hardly heard of school shootings before these drugs hit the market. And mothers killing their children. How often did you hear of mothers killing their kids before these drugs?
Is this where
they're every day.
Yeah. Is this where the REM sleep can interfere and override a person's conscious state, and that can set off of this, nightmare type of scenario? Tell us a little bit about possibly how that occurs, the scenarios on that.
Well, first you should know that's called a REM sleep behavior disorder when that happens. And what it is you're literally acting out the dream or the nightmare that you're having. Andrea Yates' case would be a perfect example, as would comedian Phil Hartman and his wife's death. What the drugs do, as I said, is they repress your REM sleep. You do that long enough, you go into REM while you're awake. The bad thing is that when you increase serotonin levels, you produce horrifying nightmares. And lots of times they're sexual in nature. It just, whatever your worst nightmare is what you end up acting out in this REM sleep behavior disorder. What's really frightening is clear back in '92, I called the top sleep researchers in the country, and I said, Prozac is causing the REM sleep behavior disorder, and this is why. And I gave them all the data that I had. They were impressed enough that they went back and checked, and they found that of all the patients that they had diagnosed with REM sleep behavior disorder over a particular period of time, that they noted that 48% of them were taking antidepressants. And that shocked them enough that they decided they better start asking, because what they did, it was just kind of hit and miss, going back to see if maybe somebody asked what medication. Well, when they went back and asked, they found that 86% of those going into the REM sleep behavior disorder were taking an antidepressant. Now, you hear a little bit about this with Ambien, but you do not ever hear anybody talk about antidepressants causing this. The drug that Ambien is, we know, produces about 3% of the cases. 86%.
Okay, we've got to take another break, and we'll be right back. I want to get into this paralysis mode also when we come back. Okay? Thanks for being with us. We'll be right back. Thank you, Dr. Trey.